It's at 8 a.m. The live stream. Detroit is different and Bridge Detroit. Local politics of Detroit. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Public Comment, where we're going to have definitely a discussion. We got somebody else in full effect as Malachi is out away doing some national things, but the notebook is still happening. But now it's Kayleigh's notebook and not Malachi's notebook. So, with that, welcome to the Public Comment Ram. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. And you jump right on in to something that we were talking about with me and Malachi. But before then, I want you to just introduce yourself to the people, what you write, how you're writing, how you picking up in notebooks for municipal politics in Detroit.
Sure. I am Kayleigh Lickliter. I am a contributor for Bridge Detroit. I am also a Detroit documenter. And a lot of the things that I cover is like accountability reporting. I cover Inspector General investigations. I cover my own investigations. And then as well as City Council. City Council is something that I became very familiar with through Detroit Documenters. I have live tweeted over 100 city council meetings. And so the notebook is kind of, it takes away from, or it takes public comments and it takes bigger issues and it kind of simplifies it so that people can understand what the main arguments are without all of the noise, so to speak.
And I love the way you said that because even to close out, for people that don't know, August is the month that City Council of the City of Detroit goes on break, right? So Tuesday is the open meeting, and it was a overtime open meeting yesterday. It was until
Mm-hmm.
4:30. So that means that from 10, well, it started a little late, but maybe from like 10:15 to 4:30, it
Mm-hmm.
was some people watching, and you were there ready with a notebook full, and it definitely opens up with a hot button conversation that's been going on here as I was ranting and raving about this whole concept of the solar farm initiative that does move forward from the executive branch into council approving this. There were some no votes, no vote from Council President Mary Sheffield, as seen, and also District 2 Council Member Angela Whitfield-Calloway. Gabriela Santiago-Romero definitely had some exceptions to some of what would happen with this, and it was in her chambers where a lot of this was discussed. The breakdown of this, what's going on and what happened uh, as things was happening with dealing with the solar farm project initiative that will be coming to the city of Detroit.
So yesterday specifically, I think a lot of the concern was the rush to get it past City Council now that they're on recess until the beginning of September. Angela Whitfield-Calloway and Gabriela Santiago-Romero didn't really um, speak specifically on the reasons why they were opposed to it, but Mary Sheffield was very vocal. Um, she had concerns about the zoning ordinances. So just some background is the city went ahead and um, basically proposed how much they're going to buy these people's property for before the property was properly zoned for a solar field. And that still hasn't been done, even though it's gone through City Council. Um, she also had issues with DTE. Um, Specifically, they, I guess, lobbied against community solar projects.
And let me explain what community solar is. And one of my big gripes as in transparency, working with Solidarity. Solidarity advocates for energy democracy. So for people that don't understand this, in the city of Detroit, people are very aware DTE is where you're gonna get your coal powered lights or gas and energy that happens. That's where you got to go. You probably don't know this. Even if you get solar power, you're still gonna have to go through DTE. So community solar is an initiative that is here throughout the state house of Michigan, so that the covenant can be broken for not the needed natural monopolies. This is something, if you study in business, my time at Walsh, they talked a lot about this, that there are necessary monopolies for the public safety of people. Utility companies can fall into this arc under that. What that does is it creates certain protections where the only person that can do business is the business there. And the community solar program would allow for what I was speaking about. My big gripe of this personally is that it will be sad and unfortunate that, you know, residents will live in a district with a solar farm that was paid for with tax money and not benefit of any of that solar power themselves, only the municipal buildings. And you can review, I did 2 interviews with Tepfir Reshton, which is the leader of the Office of Sustainability in the city of Detroit. One is just the classic Detroit is different, where we go into our background. The second one is more just about the many acres of land throughout the city of Detroit. I believe it's 10,000 that are labeled as vacant, and what could it do to resource it. And we discuss where things stand and her perspective of what could happen here. My stance is always that if it's using tax money, it needs to benefit residents directly. And oftentimes, the executive administration has some very creative and dynamic concepts of things that can help partnering municipal and corporate interests. But usually, when it involves government, municipal government, and residents, it seems to be so much that needs to change in the state house and other things, and that just becomes exhaustive, and I believe leads to a lot of the apathy that exists throughout the city of Detroit when you can just look in the voter rolls of any local election, and that connects. So I hate to, you know, I was trying not to pontificate too much, but I thought I tried to button that up the right way.
You said it
And
perfectly.
and with that, you know, these are just some deeper questions. So in this, as you said, wow, you know, hundreds of city council meetings, that's a lot. So more power. But the tone even of a lot of the people in public comment, what would you say was like just the overall feel during these proceedings?
There was a lot of support yesterday, but people still had questions. So everybody finds value in big projects like the solar neighborhood solar initiative, uniquely to their own situation. So there were a lot of people who mentioned wanting to have their grandchildren and kids grow up in a community where they see improvements happening. In a lot of these areas, there hasn't been much investment, if at all, especially areas around the airport. A lot of people are tired of looking at blight. There was one person who spoke on the impact it would have on crime, just getting rid of the appearance of blight, and areas where crime is known to thrive. Other people had questions still. They supported the effort around climate change and reducing carbon emissions, but they still had questions about the long-term viability of the project, whether it was financially sustainable, and so on and so forth. But I think everybody has really developed like a unique opinion about this initiative as a whole, which is purely based on their own circumstances.
Yeah, this is just such a such a classic story once again, where I um, I often feel that because the Detroit can be so under resourced for many reasons, and with what's so under resourced, anything seems like something so great, but also within what will become of some of those challenges, it likens me so much of years ago, proactive political battle my parents were so involved in the keep the vote no takeover movement, when so many people said, yeah, just let the state take over Detroit public schools. They got to do better than us in voting for our school board. And since then, the conditions that Detroit public schools have been left in, it's so tragic, because usually it starts here, but it becomes such a larger challenge as time goes. And when we talk about another larger challenge as time goes, another thing that actually opened up as I presented, just inviting council and whoever watches the council meeting to the Collard Green Cook-Off was a man that sat in the council chambers at one point in time. The water czars, I guess we could call them. Gary Brown spoke about a new program as the moratorium on water shutoffs is now over, and a program where people like an easy pay program. There was another program that was kind of confusing for many people, but the root of this is water shutoffs are coming. So if you live in communities like mine, if you see somebody in that blue jumpsuit and some blue spray paint and they point towards that place, or you see that place with some plywood up and you see the W and then a dash and an O, you already know what's happening. And if anyone that's ever experienced the water shut off and the exhaustive measures of what happens to get that water back on, it can be big. So this is a program that's looking to avoid that conflict. Can you speak a little bit about this in the tone of what you observed in reference from Director Brown?
So a lot of these are very new details, but what we do know is that the city or the water department is losing about $48 million a year to delinquent accounts for water and sewer bills. And so that's about 12% of the department's revenue, and limits how much the water department can use for improvements. So Gary Brown in the water department came up with this new program. It's going to replace the old 10-30-50 program, which is a way to pay off delinquent water bills. So you would either pay 10% down, 30% down, or 50% down, and then your payments would be split into 12 monthly, or your balance would be split into 12 monthly payments. This program, you only have to pay $10 down, and then your delinquent balance is spread over 36 months. And you would have to continue paying your regular monthly bill on top of this payment plan. But the way it's being seen from the water department's perspective is this is a way to cut back how much debt that they're incurring, and kind of, pull the reins on that to make it easier for the city to move forward and continue investing in infrastructure improvements.
And one of the challenges is people always say, it's like, if I couldn't afford $100 a month, what makes you think I'm gonna afford 115? You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those realities that exist. I think that when we look at and connect to a lot of the reports that we know, that a lot of people that work within the city don't live within the city, the conditions of people that live within the city can be tragic from a lens of financing. When we look at the unemployment that exists here, when we look at the median income that exists here, it it definitely can be some desperate situations for a lot of traders. And like sometimes I believe programs are just entered into to kind of kick the can. And I've been one of those people that's been in a program and kicked the can before, especially like with the, another one of the utility companies where, you pay, you're part of a program, and then you get that balloon payment at the end. And it's like, I was barely affording the regular payment. So this balloon payment, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, as the old folks say. And these new details, I do expect some of the activist community, Monica Lewis Patrick, and what the work of We the People, I would definitely want to reach out to, and Maureen Taylor and the Welfare Rights Organization, and see where things can be so equitable in City of Detroit works.
Yeah, I think sometimes municipalities just in general underestimate how important that $120 is a month that you'd be spending on other bills, on other needs. And so from what they announced yesterday was that the average payment was going to be about $120 a month. 34 of that, about a quarter of that was going to be going towards the debt, and the rest of it was going to go towards the water bill.
Yeah, and times like these are definitely one of those times where we think, because I saw like a little homie in the background with you, like, so like people would think, oh, okay, everything's cool. School's starting up, school supplies, what you need for that, uniforms, and what's going to happen in reference to that. The other big elephant in the room connecting to a city like Detroit is also childcare, and childcare is extremely expensive. So you compound upon compounding, you have all the other utilities, you have rent, where we understand that the lack of affordable housing, not just in Detroit, but in Michigan and across America itself, it calcifies on top of these issues, on top of the other things. Internet, phone is a necessity now. What with travel, and like I say, with school starting back up, it's more than school supplies, depending upon what type of child you have. I mean, if a child plays an instrument and plays a sport, that is not just the money, but it's also the time, because you're between practices and recitals and games and everything else, and then that little extra time where you may be able to pick up a job where you can make some ends meet. You're not going to be able to make them ends meet, as you say. So like that 120 on paper in a vacuum is just like, it's $120, but that $120 can become, where you're making a decision of like, damn, do I pay water this month or lights? Do I pay lights, or do I pay cell phone? Do I pay cell phone, or do I pay internet? Or do I tell my kid, hey, you ain't gonna be able to play violin this year, maybe next year? Who knows? These are just real life decisions that are being made, I would say, consistently in a city like Detroit, not just in Detroit, but outside of Detroit as well. So with that being said, I think this was a good introduction. You'll definitely be back, as we're going to talk some national stuff too, because with City Council on break, some national stories happening that involve Detroit big time. And I'm looking forward to you knocking around some of my rambunctious and boisterous opinions with Malachi, and some of his boisterous opinions as well. And we're going to bring in some others. Please let the people know how they can connect with you and connect with what you're working
on. You can find me on Twitter. It's Kayleigh, Kayleigh. I believe RL is the last two letters in my username. You can reach out to me by email, KRLICKLITER@gmail.com, or connect with Bridge Detroit. I am always at the community meetings that they host. Yeah.
All right. And as always, Detroit is different. Y'all already know what commercial y'all about to watch, because August is coming, but it's something else big coming in August. So this one is something you want to check out. You already know what we do, how we do. So thank you so much, and we're gonna close.
These greens are super good when I'm going to vote for these greens, but I also will vote August 5th and November 5th in the presidential election.
I feel the collard green cook-off is absolutely amazing.
The collard green cook-off is like a cultural event. It's amazing. The greens are on point.
Collard Green Cook-Off Championship, Thursday, August 15th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Joseph Walker Williams Center. You don't want to miss this opportunity for culture, taste, and all the flavor in the world. 5 chefs take on last year's winner, and we're going to crown this year's champion.